The Social Security has a threshold, 168,600. If an employee is making more than that in a year, you will withhold 6.2% from that employee's income up to 168,600, and after that you stop withholding Social Security from that employee's wage. Your business will pay 6.2% up to that 168,600 as well, and anything that the employee is making past that, there won't be Social Security wages to withhold or to match, but you will continue withholding and matching Medicare tax on the income that the person is making. And if you do not have EFTPS account, you might want to create one with IRS so that you can make your deposit. So you can make federal tax deposits by electronic fund transfer through Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, EFTPS. That way you can make those deposits quickly. It won't take too many days for that to go through for you. So, who must file Form 941? If you pay wages that is subject to federal income tax, Social Security tax, and Medicare tax, you must file Form 941 quarterly to report the following amount. So, pretty much just like the way we did it, you will report the wages you pay for that quarter, the federal income tax withheld during that quarter, the Social Security tax, employee and employer portion for that quarter, the Medicare tax, employee and employer for that quarter, the deposit you made during that quarter, and whether you owe money or you are due a refund. So those things will go on the Form 941. So from that point on, you will continue to file Form 941 every quarter, even if you have no wages or no taxes to report. So after you file your first Form 941, you must file a return for each quarter, even if you have no tax to report, unless you file a final return. And filing a final return will mean you check box 17, put the date that you last pay wages, and attach a statement to signify that you file a final return, or one of the exception listedness applies. And the exception will be IRS send you a letter requesting that you start filing Form 944. Then you stop filing Form 941, and at the end of the year you will file Form 944. Or you are a seasonal employer, meaning you hire employees seasonally, like winter, spring, or fall. Therefore, seasonal employer don't have to file Form 941 for quarters in which they have no tax liability because they pay no wages. So to tell IRS that you won't file a return for one or more quarters during the tax year, check box 18. For every quarter, you file Form 941. And that will be the box 18. You will check the box 18 then you check the quarter that's the return on which you check that box 18, what quarter that return is for. And we can read more on seasonal employers. So if none of those exceptions apply and you haven't filed a final return, you must file Form 941 each quarter, even if you didn't pay wages during the quarter. So let's see if we can find a little bit more on final return or seasonal employer. So if you go out of business or you stop paying wages, that will be the line 17. That will be when you file the final return. You must file a final return to tell the IRS that a particular Form 941 is a final return. Check the box on line 17 and enter the final date you pay wages in the space provided for. Okay, so and that's that. And let's see here. Okay. And we can read about the seasonal employer as well. So if you hire employees seasonally, such as summer, winter only, you check the box 18. Checking the box tells IRS not to expect for Form 941 from you throughout the year because you haven't paid wages regularly. Generally, we won't ask about unfiled return if at least one taxable return is filed each year. However, you must check the box on line 18 on every Form 941 you file. Otherwise, the IRS will expect a return to be filed for each quarter. When you complete Form 941, be sure to check the box on the top on the form that corresponds to the quarter reported. Okay. So we are going to go back to So that tells you that once you become a new employer, your business has been around and you don't hire anyone, and then based on how your business is flourishing, you hire, and how much you start paying will be subject to Social Security, Medicare tax, and federal income tax. It's a good idea if you do not have EIN number, because maybe you are a sole proprietor and you have been using your Social Security number, you quickly apply for EIN number. So we are going to cover that in this session as well. Let me see where I can find that. If you haven't received your EIN by the due date of Form 941, file a paper return and write apply for on the date and the date you apply for. You apply in the entry space. If you are filing your return electronically, a valid EIN is required at the time of the return. At the time the return is filed. If a valid EIN isn't provided, the return won't be accepted. So, and if you are required to use EIN number on a form, you need to use EIN. So don't use your Social Security or I-10 on form that asks for EIN. So if you are a sole proprietor and you have employees and you do not have an EIN number for your business, it might be a good idea to apply for EIN number for your business before Form 941 is due for the quarter. File your initial Form 941 for the quarter in which you first pay wages that are subject to Social Security and Medicare tax or subject to federal income tax withholding. Then you must file for every quarter after that, every 3 months, even if you have no taxes to report, unless you are a seasonal employer or are filing a final return. Or IRS send you a mail asking to file Form 944 going forward. Form 944 is filed at the end of the year, is annual employer federal return, and Form 941 is quarterly employer federal tax return. So those are the instances when you will stop filing Form 941. Otherwise, you will need to continue filing it, even if you have $0 amount to report. File Form 941 only once for each quarter. If you file electronically, don't file paper return. Okay. And I'm not sure we read this, but if you file a final return, then you'll add an attachment to the Form 941 explaining, like telling the name of the person that is going to keep the payroll record that you have in your record up to that date, and the address those record will be kept. I was looking for this information before. It was on page 5, and that talk about transferred and when you sold the business and all that as well. So if you sell or transfer your business during the quarter, you and the new owner must each file a Form 941 for the quarter in which the transfer occurred. Report only the wages you paid. When two businesses merge, the continuing firm must file a return for the quarter in which the change took place, and the other firm, meaning you, should file a final return. And that's when you'll check that box 17 on yours. And put the date and check the box and add an attachment. Changing from one form of business to another, such as a sole proprietor or a partnership, corporation is considered a transfer. If a transfer occurred, you may need a new EIN. So how you are going to complete that attachment depends on your situation. Your attachment will include the new owner's name, the new name of the business, whether the business is now a sole proprietor, a partnership, or a corporation, the kind of change that occurred, whether it was a sale or a transfer, the dates the change happened, and the name of the person that is going to keep the old payroll record, and the address those report or record will be kept. And just make sure that those attachments, let me see where I found that information. Those attachments, you will make sure you put your business name, you put your business name, your EIN, Form 941, the year you are filing for, and the quarter you are filing for. You need to put those your business name as well on the attachment, on all the attachment that you are adding. So when you are filing final return, it'll be good to put that information at the top of the attachment. And also you can specify that, you know, the information you are providing, like, oh, where were we? Like, who is going to keep the record and all that. You might want to put on top at the head of that, you know, the is for line 17, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's see where we were. We are going to explain a little bit the instruction, what we found interesting to keep in mind. So you can e-file form 941 as well. Let's see. So if your business change name, address, or responsible party, so that means who IRS will notify regarding some information about the business is the responsible party. If you change any of those, it's good to complete form 8822B to notify IRS of any of those changes. You do not attach it. You do not mail it with form 941. You mail it on its own, and I believe you'll use without payment. Write to the IRS office where you file your return using without a payment address to notify IRS of any business name change. You just don't put in the same envelope as form 941. If your form 941 is going to the same without a payment address, then you just mail two different envelopes, if that makes sense. So if you are doing it at the same time, but otherwise, anytime that you need to complete that form, it will go to without a payment address. In the, we'll get to it, it's coming. Without a payment address that correspond to the role your state is located. So generally, enter the business legal name you use when you apply for EIN. So it's very important you know your business name that you put on your EIN application form. That's what will go on your form 941 at the top. And at the top of the second page as well, and at the top where they put name is your business legal name that you use to apply, that you put on your EIN form. You'll find that on the SS form letter as well that you receive from IRS. And we are coming close to the without a payment address that correspond to the states your business is located in. Without a payment address that correspond to the states your business is located in is where you mail that form 88 something that you'll mail to IRS to let them know that your business information, your business name 8822B to let them know of any change related to your business name, business address, or responsible party. And SS4 usually is the letter that you receive from IRS when you apply for EIN and you get a letter from them in the mail. It will be an SSL, an SS4. Reconciling form 941 with form W3. So when you are completing your form 941, you want to make sure your numbers are accurate, because IRS will match amount reported on your 4 quarters Form 941 with your Form W2 amount total on your yearly Form 83. Form W2 is per employee. Form W3 is the total of W2s that you file together. So it will try to match those. And Form W, so it's stating that it's going to try to reconcile the federal income tax withholding. I agree. But Social Security wages, Social Security tips, Medicare tips, I'm not sure about that. It's going to take a half of those because W2 and W3 will have the employees portion of Social Security. Okay, it's saying Social Security wages. That makes sense. Now Social Security tax. So Social Security wages, Social Security tips, and Medicare wages and tips. So yeah, those things are on 4941 for all the 4 quarters combined. That is just column 1 is going to reconcile line 3 of all 4 Form 941 that you file, and column 1 of line 5 for Medicare and Social Security wages to see what you reported on W3, which will be the total of W2s that you submitted, to see if those numbers match. So just knowing that will allow you to know how you are reporting things on your payroll, for your payroll purposes, because that is what you will use to complete your Social Security. One thing I like to do though, because Social Security W2 and W3 are due by January 31st, and the last quarter 4, Form 941 is due by January 31st as well. So what I like to do is completing Form 941 but not submitting it, and then completing Social W2 and W3 and compare those numbers to see if you need to make any adjustment, and then you make those adjustments before you submit your Social Security. You submit your you see those adjustments before you submit your W2 W3 to Social Security, and then you mail your Form 941 quarter 4 to IRS. That way you already trying to reconcile both, because you will total all your 4 Form 941 to compare it to your W3 to see if the numbers are matching when it comes to what you reported for 4 quarters for line 3 and 4 quarters for column 1 of line 5 compared to W3 on Social Security. That way you can see if you need to make any adjustment, and you go from there. But again, those things is something you can keep in mind as well when you are making payment, so that those numbers are accurate for you. Okay. So must you deposit your tax? So if your line 12, and line 12 is the total tax after adjustment and credit. If your total tax on line 12 is less than 2,500 for the current quarter, and the prior quarter is less than 2,500, then you can make a payment. But again, if you are making deposit based on your deposit schedule, you must well just make a deposit if there is a due. But so if your line 12 is less than 2,500 and for your current quarter and the prior quarter, and you didn't incur $100,000 next day deposit obligation during the current quarter, what is the question here? You may have to deposit your federal income tax you withheld, and both your employer and employee social security tax and Medicare tax. So if your total tax after adjustment is all of that, you don't have to make a deposit. To avoid a penalty, you must pay any amount due in full with a timely file return, or you must make a deposit. You must deposit any amount you owe by the due date of the return. So you must well make a deposit by the due date of the return. Okay. If your tax after adjustment on line 12 is $2,500 or more, and your current quarter and for the prior quarter, you must make a deposit according to your deposit schedule. When must you deposit your tax? So you need to figure that out. If you are a monthly or semi-weekly deposit schedule for the quarter, so we can come back to that as well. But yeah, so you'll use a look back 2 years look back to determine. So July 1st of the second preceding calendar year through June 1st of last year, to determine if you are a monthly depositor or a semi-weekly depositor. So if your line 12 for those 4 quarters is less or equal to $50,000, then you are a monthly deposit schedule. If it's more than $50,000, then you are a semi-weekly depositor. If you are a monthly scheduled depositor and accumulate $100,000 tax liability on any day, so pretty much you become a semi-weekly scheduled depositor on the next day, because you are going to make that payment the next day as required, and then you become a semi-weekly scheduled depositor for from that point on, and remain so for the remaining of the year and for the following calendar year. Okay. If you pay benefits, you can read more about it on publication B to see what benefits are taxable and which one are not, to know what will be subject to Social Security, what compensation will be subject to Social Security. So the rate for Medicare is 1.45 for employee and 1.45% for employer as well. When one of your employee is making more than $200,000, you pay 1.45% on the full wage of the employee. You withhold 1.45% on the whole amount that the person is making, and your business pay 1.45% on the whole amount as well. But then the portion of the amount that is over $200,000, you withhold an additional 0.9% from the employee's wage that is over $200,000. So it's good to track the payroll in a way that, in a cumulative way, that when you reach that threshold, you start withholding an extra 0.9% from the employee's payroll. But you, the employer, you do not pay that extra additional Medicare tax. So if you are required to make a deposit, pretty much you use EFT, pay the amount shown on line 14 by EFT. If you aren't required to make federal tax deposits, or you are a monthly scheduled depositor making a payment under the accuracy of deposit rule, you may pay the amount shown on line 14. That is the balance due. You can pay that amount by EFT, credit card, debit card, check money order, or EFW. Okay. So check and money order will go with the voucher. EFT is online payment. If line 12 is less than 2,500, or line 12 on the prior quarter return was less than 2,500, and you didn't incur $100,000 next deposit obligation during the current quarter, you may pay the amount with Form 941, or you may deposit the amount. To avoid a penalty though, you must pay any amount you owe in full by the due date of the tax return. So if line 12 is 2,500 or more, and line 12 of the prior return quarterly return was 2,500 or more, or if you incur $100,000 next day deposit obligation during the current quarter, you must make a required deposit according to the deposit schedule. So yeah, and we discussed that when we are filing the return, if you are making a payment by check or money order, how will you complete the check or the money order? So payable to United States Treasury, you put your EIN on the form, you put Form 941, the year and the quarter you are filing for, like second quarter 2024 for instance, and you complete Form 941 voucher, and you'll add them to your Form 941. You just don't staple them together. So you have 3 pieces of document in the envelope: Form 941, Form 941V, and check. 3 different things, not stapled to each other in the envelope, and you mail it to the column that say pay with a payment. So that will be the third column. Address, you choose the address from the third column with payments that correspond to the state where your business is located. So you put that address on the envelope to mail Form 941 with Form 941 voucher and check. That is mailing with a payment. That address that corresponds to the state where your business is located. If line 12 is 2025 or more on both your prior and your current quarter, Form 941, and you have deposited all your taxes when due, the balance due on line 14 should be 0. And that's why we try our example to look like. Our line 12 is 2547, and we made our deposit to be the same dollar amount. Therefore, our line 14 is 0. No balance due. If you are required to make deposits and instead pay the tax with Form 941, you may be subject to a penalty. So just make sure you meet those requirements. If you deposit more than the correct amount for the quarter, you can choose to have the IRS either refund the overpayment or apply it to the next return. Check only one box on line 15. And line box, you have to apply to the next return or to be sent a refund. You check one of the two. And they went a little bit in detail there as well. So where do you mail Form 941 without a payment? Because we are not going to add payment to it. You'll go to the instruction for Form 941, page 6, page 7. And you locate the state where your business is located. And that will be the first column. The second column is without a payment. And the third column is with payment. So if you are going to insert a voucher for the one voucher and check in the envelope, you are mailing it with a payment. If you are going to mail Form 941 without a payment, you will use without a payment colon. The address within that without a payment colon that corresponds to the state, to the row where your state is listed. So if we go up, the second column is for without a payment. So the address under the column without a payment that corresponds to the state where our business is located is the address to put on the envelope and mail the Form 941 to via USPS certified mail. That way you have a tracking that you can keep with your copy of Form 941 for your business record as a proof of mailing and mailing on time. And that's where you'll mail your Form 941. Just make sure the instruction is accurate, because the address could change year after year. So we are using the instruction for Form 941 2024, and we are filing Form 941 for 2024. So when Form 941 is due, Quarter 1 ending March 31st is due by April 30th. Quarter 2 ending June 30th is due by July 31st. Quarter 3 ending September 30th is due by October 31st. Quarter 4 ending on December 31st is due by January 31st of the following year. And since we are filing for Quarter 2 that ended on June 30th, is due by July 31st. But how you file the form and the address you mail it to, those things. So who is eligible to sign your Form 941? If your business is a sole proprietorship, you the owner, you will sign you will sign Form 941. If your business is a corporation, an LLC treated as a corporation, the president, the vice president or other principal officer could sign. If your business is a partnership or an LLC that files 1065 partnership tax return, a responsible or partner, member, or officer that has a good knowledge of your business could sign. If the business is a single member LLC treated as a disregarded entity for federal income tax purposes, the owner of the LLC or a principal officer will sign as well. And they have a little bit of information for reporting agents. This one there. And this pretty much explain those, instruction for Form 941, and we did. Thank you. As a disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. This information is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Use it at your own discretion. Thank you. We thank you very much for watching our videos. We thank you very much for all your comments. We thank you very much, you all that subscribe to our channel. I'm Afiabi Liberman, Cross of Liberman Consulting L.L.C YouTube channel, and inasoap.com, our blog. On our channel and on our blog, we share different ways you can save money and different ways you can make money to reach your financial independence, where you do not depend on an employer to provide for your family. And when you are a business owner and your business is young and you have some time to file your own business tax return, that's one way to keep your business expenses low. At the same time, you are learning how to gather your business financial data in a way that when it comes to tax time, you will be able to file your tax return accurately, or when you hire somebody to do it for you, you'll be able to give that person the proper document to help them file your tax return for you. And remember, whether you file the return yourself or somebody file it on your behalf, you will sign the final document. Therefore, you acknowledge that what is on the document is accurate to the best of your knowledge. Therefore, you are responsible for the data submitted to the tax authority on your behalf or on the behalf of your business. So either way, the information is your responsibility. So it might be a good idea. So it takes time to file the return yourself, but at the same time, there are some learning that you can draw from it, and one of that is, based on the information you need to file the return, you know how to track that information over the month so that when you need it, you'll be able to find it. Thank you.